Okay, Scott, thank you very much. Sound check. Can everyone hear myself and Brad? Bradley, speak
Ah,
up,
I was
buddy.
muted. Hi. You sound good to me. I'm back now.
Okay, so guys, this is our Q&A webinar. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. Almost, that was just, for the flu. Almost done with it. The first thing that we do is the housekeeping. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. All the information is for educational and informational purposes.
Take a
Brad,
drink
did
of
you say?
water. Take a
No,
drink of water. Dan's getting over it.
buddy, I'm doing strategic pausing. Does your system have Ichimoku? I was actually going to say itchy and scratchy, to be honest, but then I feel like the metaphor would have completely been lost. Um, we get the reason I'm talking about this is we get a lot of questions whether our software has stuff like, does your software has Ichimoku or Kelter channels or Bollinger Bands or stochastic hardball RSI Flibber channel, or do you have fork? All of these things, for the most part, were invented before technology really had the ability to do what it does now. And with us, what we do is we take a completely different approach to data. So instead of trying to overwhelm you with, again, indicators that you have to figure out, we've gone a completely different way. Trade Ideas is really a investment discovery platform, and we're going to show it to you. We're going to talk about how it really is a must-have for anyone who wants to be active in the market and have any kind of rewards like the rewards that you hopefully hear about. Okay, so Brad, before I jump into the tech, again, we talk about this, how you don't need 99% of the stuff that's in platforms today. But what you do need is something that nobody has, which is an approach to active investing that works. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about this approach, how our system is not just a tool, but it's a methodology. And that really brings me back to this slide. Brad, I got this one on the internet, of course. But But I got this one because I think people really underestimate it, and you reminded me of this. So Brad here is a very good golfer, basically almost scratch. And Brad and I went and played golf the other day, and after golf, Brad goes, "Come on, let's do it like the pros and go to the range after the game." Now, if anybody here is a golf fan or you play golf, golfing's kind of tiring because it takes a long time. It's like 4.5 hours. But the professionals, what they do after each game, even, again, in tournaments, they go practice, and they go with their coaches, and they're working on everything. And again, being a huge fan of the game, and seeing how well people like Jordan Spieth or Jason Day, how they're playing, you have to really think back at the amount of time they're spending on the game. And here is where I make the metaphor towards investing. How much time are you spending on the game? So we know that that's where the bleed happens, because number one, stocks are tricky to figure out anyways. We don't even know what works, right? Half the people tell you, just give me your money. The other people say, don't ever try to time the market. And then the other people say it's only in penny stocks and you have to have a Ferrari to invest in one. Is that what they say, Brett, or something like that? I don't know.
There may be a few that say that.
But a lot of conflicting messages. But the real bottom line is practice. Everyone can understand that if you want to succeed at something, the more you practice, the better. So, Brad, to me, this is where I'm really, kind of want to pause for a second and let everybody understand this slide right here. The reason that you really must be using trade ideas as a methodology for actively investing is because of the practice. So right now, while I'm presenting to you this webinar, our servers, our technology is in a routine where it's going back through all of the trades that have happened today, learning about what made today work, like for example when the market was up or when it was down, or what odds were in place today, and recreating a strategy approach that, again, I'm going to dive into, and both Brad and I will discuss, that's going to end up, by the end of the evening, our software, our AI, will basically have run through close to 1 million trades. So this is this part again, 1 million trades, and I want you to think about that. So when people are looking for what to do tomorrow, right? You usually use your inferences. You do whatever it is that you learned today. Tomorrow comes in and you apply it. Half the time it's subconscious. So that's what our software is doing right now. It's learning to trade tomorrow. And again, unless you're planning on doing 1 million practice trades today, ask yourself, how do you compete with this type of technology? So, Brad, I'm going to minimize this.
I mean, Dan, you're really big with analogies, and as you're putting this slide up, and I liken it to Trade Ideas technology. To me, it's really like a caddy. It's someone that's sitting next to you that's giving you advice. It's telling you information that's going to help you be better at it. So practice is important, and certainly that's an aspect of it. But also having someone that is really smart next to you, giving you information that you otherwise wouldn't have, is also invaluable.
Well, that's, again, great example. And I actually thought about a completely new way that I want to present our technology to people, because I want to do it not just like as a sales aspect, or, I mean, we're going to get into, we'll get into the alpha and how to make money. Amazing stuff, by the way. And look at Facebook. Something going on after hours. Look at that. Boom. It's a pretty big move. But again, Prasha, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's talk about this real quick. Okay? When we started Trade Ideas, we started it in 2003. We connected it to the markets, and we gave people the ability to create windows where you could watch anything happen. Here I'm going to switch to after hours, and you can kind of see in years and years, people would subscribe, create their windows, and go on their merry way. But over this time, we kept on kind of thinking about the ultimate question, which everyone would ask us, and especially our huge enterprise partners. Somebody would see like, hey, TQQQ, okay, new post-market high. Well, somebody will say, okay, well, what does that mean? How about ARIA is running up quickly, 5 cents in less than a minute, just a quick move here after hours. What does that mean? I see you guys are tracking everything. What do I do with this information? Okay, that was the ultimate question. So we gave everybody the ability to create whatever discretionary view they wanted. But over the course of the years, you yourself had to figure out what to do for the most part. And that took, you could have learned it from a number of educators. You could have done it yourself. But it required a huge amount of time. Okay, so as things developed, and again, we've been constantly pushing to make our own technology easier. So we connected the exchanges, right? We have charting, we have everything's included. And here I'm on the after hours section. But there's a typical routine, and again, I go through this very quickly part of the presentation. You start Trade Ideas as, again, it's your investment discovery platform. In the pre-market, you're going to see what's gapping up, what's gapping down. as soon as the market opens, you jump onto one of the other channels that you want to see, like social media will show you everything that's moving on positive or negative sentiment and how to work around there. Again, this is aimed at people who sort of want to see where there's momentum and also have some understanding of the trading cycle, but probably not great for people who have not traded that much and really don't know what to do. So again, anything you want to see, we have it. And all it takes is channel surfing. You know, you click a button and now you're on the biotech channel. You click another button, you're on the defense channel. Do you want to see all the things that are positive? Even in a negative market, there's always things that are positive. You have the positive movement channel. Would you like to see things that were hit pretty hard? You have the same thing, the opposite. You have the negative movement. So that, again, you can really dial in your view very quickly without the need to do any kind of configuration. The idea is that we've completely moved away from a need for you to spend a lot of time configuring trade ideas to get what you need. Instead, we've used our own expertise to bring all that information, including fundamental data and things where, again, you can do research very quickly without having to do any kind of configuration. That's the big advantage. There's no way, there's nothing that comes through the market that you will ever miss with access to trade ideas. So that's the beginning, you know, and that's what I was saying to Brad. That's from 2003, we've been evolving these tools to get better and better and better and better. And finally, okay, we created this tool that, and this was created around 2006. It was called the Odds Maker, okay? And the Odds Maker is a tool that just lets you see things. I mean, you can look at any window, and the idea was very simple. We said, hey, I want to know what happens after this signal. Can I use this signal as an entry point in a strategy, or is this just noise? And so we created that functionality for people where you can go and do anything. You can back test going long, going short. And again, notice this is what you call big data, right? No technology exists in finance that allows you to go through this amount of hypotheticals with this kind of speed. It doesn't exist in SAC, it doesn't exist in Goldman or Bloomberg. It does not exist anywhere but within yours truly trade ideas. We built this from the ground up, again, and this is not the kind of technology that you can just throw, Chinese or Russian developers at it and have them copy. This is a completely different sort of approach. And so this odds maker tech, and this is why it's so important that I'm telling you, this is what for years and years, that's how you were practicing. Remember that the slide right here, okay? This practice, this is what we just did. So we ran through 2,498 practice sessions to learn that this is probably not a good idea for a strategy, okay? And again, and we were testing commissions and slippage and everything. So we have this tool, and within this tool, we gave people, again, the ability to construct this on their own so that you can go in here and start doing things like, well, this strategy, when are most of the trades, and when is it good and when is it bad? Is the time of day have an effect? Maybe I should trade a little bit later, or maybe cut it off a little bit earlier. It seems like over here I'm just bleeding. So we have all of these insights, and again, you can use tons of different filters like percentage of float traded. Maybe again that the float is a component that I need to be looking to optimize. So all of this was available. I mean, you can test every trade. You can see what went up, what went down, what hit the stops, and all of the views. We created so many cool technological viewpoints for being able to see if what you're doing is or isn't working. But there was one huge problem with it. Brad, you know what the problem is?
The problem is that it's just really time consuming to do it yourself and rather impossible to look through all the stocks and the different opportunities. But I want to stop you right there real quick because you missed something that I think really illustrates why all of this stuff that you're talking about is special and what makes it.
Should I bring a window back up or do I need to?
No, this is fine right here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the metadata and the derived data that we create. The data points. As Dan said, we're connected to the exchanges and we're taking all this data and we're running it through our computers. But while it's going through our computers, we're creating baselines and statistical data points where we know what's normal behavior for every stock on every time frame. And so we create these new data points that, as Dan's talking about now, the ability to backtest and then sticking our computer on that backtesting, we're now analyzing data points that are very unique in the marketplace and very unique, especially to trade ideas. So that's one of the key data points, and in each one of these channels, there's visible data points that are unique, whether it's relative volume, a position in range, how much a stock moves over a certain period of time, volume over a certain period of time. All of these are data points that we baseline. So it gives us the ability to find this stuff in real time while it's happening. So I just wanted to point that out, Dan, because I think that's a real interesting aspect.
Great example. Let me illustrate this power, like right as Brad's talking about, because of course not only is Trade Idea your ultimate investment discovery engine, but for the Q&A, we do have a lot of people who are already subscribers, and I want to showcase what you can do and some of how sometimes, Brad, power comes from like simplicity, right? So we have these changes. So look, you can see how much something has changed in 2, 5, 10, 15, 30, 60, and 120, and the whole day, okay? So I'm going to say in this window that I want to show all these columns, and I want to see the price of the stock, I want to see the company name, and there's the symbol. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort this by, that's fine, relative volume, okay, biggest on top. So I'm going to call this the movers. Okay, so here's a list of stocks, okay? And the reason that I'm saying how interesting this is that look at all these time frames and the fact that you can actually sort on them, right? So I can take this list, and it's already showing me things with high relative volume. I can resort it on things that were just up a lot from the close. So again, this is kind of like the standard view that everybody sees. So I'm going to click on this so you can just kind of see what it looks like. Okay, that's a pretty big move. And by the way, just so that everybody knows here, this is what we're here for, right? While I'm not the one to say that trading penny stocks is the only way to make money, you certainly should not discriminate against smaller stocks, because look at the alpha that's here, 132%. This is why you guys are hearing this webinar, so that you can see this data, right? AMDA, another example. Look at this. Our software is very keen on finding this kind of behavior. Okay, we want to see that, and we want to see it continue. But that's a data point that everybody can see, change from the close. But as you're watching this list, right, what about resorting it, or what's up the most over the last 2 minutes? So like this is right into the close, okay? So, and again, some of these things will not trade very much at all, but here 4% because it's a very small stock.
Well, this is actually, this is at top list looking at what, a minute after the close. You could also go back and look at it during the market when there was a lot of action going on.
Let's see, time frame. Live during market hours, use historical data. How about right at the close?
No. Pick something like 11:50 a.m. Just make that 11 and change it to a.m.
Okay.
Type of A. There you go.
Okay, so here were the stocks that were, so obviously this is West Coast time, so right before the last hour, you're seeing this kind of information right as it's happening. And again, some of these symbols are like are test symbols, but the idea is that every single time frame that you want to have involvement in, and I didn't do any kind of filtering, you can resort it by what's going on in that time frame. So what's moving the most over the last 10 minutes? Here they are. What's moving the most over the last 15 minutes? And again, you can sort it by different things. In this case, I was just sorting it by relative volume, but I can also say for just the biggest winners, and there will be a different list. And here it is. So there's so many different ways, and Brad, I mean, I think this is what I'm really trying to say, is that all of these data points are points that are then explored by our systems when they're trying to come up with what should we be trading tomorrow.
Reverse sort, Dan. Go ahead and sort it on 10 minutes and do it where you've got the least value on top. So now you're looking at a bunch of big stocks that have pulled back. Now go ahead and do the reverse sort. So you've got the negative values. Yeah. So here's something that's strong, yet it's pulled back, a good percentage over a 10-minute period of time.
There you go.
A lot of different ways. It's a piece of clay that you can really shape and mold it. And with the channel bar, we've made an effort to shape and mold these different themes and workspaces, but certainly you could take anything that we've done, make it your own, or completely start from scratch.
Well, Brad, this is an example why I was going to showcase, again, to the tune of Q&A. Here, see, we have this channel called Active Trading, which is just a channel that lets people see information at a pretty fast pace. Again, something where you will not miss anything that's active. It will be here. But here's an example where we have a window, and notice how we do it all ourselves, right? I mean, you didn't have to do it. It was already designed. So here's the biggest bounce on losers. So here's something that's looking at things that are down but sorted by what's up the most over the last 30 minutes. And here's the pullback on winners, the same exact thing, but you're looking at things that are up a lot for the day but sorted by what's down the most over 30 minutes. So the idea is that if you're bullish, you can always be kind of trying to come into these pullbacks and see if the stocks that you're looking at really can participate. So that's the other thing. What I want to talk also about, before we jump into the highlight, which is the AI, and I kind of really take advantage of it, I want to really talk about this symbol right here, TCBI. Okay, so people ask, well, where is value? Like, how do you find stock market stuff that's interesting? Well, this is an example of how you find it. Now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow because ultimately tomorrow is not known. However, look at this behavior. You have these huge volume spikes, and this behavior looks like what we call a large potential energy pool. In other words, something's happening, and it's almost like a point of inflection. Okay? That means that if the market turns, you could see a huge spike. Look at this orderly sell-off from 51 to 34, right? The market, and even beforehand from 59 or 60, I mean, there are price inefficiencies that look like they're really starting to come up right now. And again, without a bias one way or the other, this bullishness, this example, is the kind of example that we like to point out to people who actively manage their money so that they are not just sitting there every day trading Apple and Twitter and Amazon and all the same things that everyone else is doing, but finding where real alpha opportunity exists. Again, if you can catch these turns, that's where alpha's hiding. So, Brad, why don't we bring Scott? Why don't you come in real quick for just a description of how we run the service, and then Brad and I will come in, answer questions, and really jump into the AI for the second half.
That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, so I think slide number 5 has the pricing. Excellent. So essentially, we're a software as a service company, and our subscriptions are the core of our service. We have the monthly subscription and the annual. Monthly is $99 per month, and the annual is $888, which saves you a bundle over the monthly over the course of a year. They both do exactly the same thing, though, and they have no contract. So if you're on us for a year, decide not to renew, no problem. Same with the month. But many of our long-term clients have been with us for over 4 or 5 years. It includes all of your real-time data all that charting. Very importantly, it includes a full hour of one-on-one training, and we've just made it even easier to sign up for that. You're able to select your own time and date. So as soon as you subscribe to Trade Ideas, go to our support page, click on training, and there's a new calendar interface there that will let you schedule a training with Jamie Hodge, our Director of Education, or Steve Gomez. The monthly and the annual also let you test the back testing tool, the odds maker. Now, to get the AI, it requires what used to be the odds maker license and is now being called our AI license, or the Holly license. And that's a one-time $1,100 fee. And what that does, that license lets you find trades that are performing in the market right now. And I know Dan and Brad are going to get into the AI demo a little bit and show you exactly how that works. You also have access to the odds maker, letting you backtest your own strategies and backtest the entire market with no programming. So you can backtest your own list of stocks or every North American stock, including pink sheets. Go ahead and stick around to the end of the presentation, where if you're already a subscriber, I'll show you a way to upgrade and save money. And if you're not yet a subscriber, I'll show you how to get everything together with a real killer deal. Dan?
Scott, thank you very much. Brad, let's jump right back in and kind of go over, well, not only, again, the most important and exciting part of what we're doing, but really talking about how to take advantage of it. So, okay, now what we're really going to be talking about is most likely why you're here. So Trade Ideas has the biggest, most important, profound innovation in fintech. This is what you're about to see over the last like 20 years. So everyone here knows that when you listen to CNBC or Bloomberg, I mean, how many times have they told you, don't time the market? You can't time the market. It's efficient. You know, don't time it. Just give us your money. Don't time it. Give me your dough. I'll be average for you, but don't time it. Well, for us, we've always thought that, you know, just like the technical indicators, Bollingers, RSIs, they were all done at a time when, you know, again, technology didn't allow for the kind of analysis that we do today. We really think the same thing comes with active investing. So I really want to have you guys think of yourselves as venture capitalists. You know, in the stocks, the biggest advantage that people have when they speculate in stocks is the ability to enter and exit quickly. Brad and I are going to talk about why that's critical, why we have the best tools for you to do that, and what it takes. So let's start with our AI engine, Holly. How we approached the question of how do you beat the market. So first of all, I want to say this. Holly, our AI engine, does not attempt to predict the market. Predicting the market does not work. It doesn't work because it's very silly to try to predict something that you don't know, again, that has not happened yet. But what you can do is have a reactive system, and I'm going to talk about how we approach that and created something that's, again, going to really be a game changer for all investors, especially if we make it to Shark Tank, which we'll tell you about. So again, the reason that people say don't time the market is because if you randomly try to, it's very difficult. What happens is this. So here's what we've learned ourselves when you try to time the market. So let's say, for example, you want to look at something like a new 10-day high, and you want to make sure that the stock's between $10 and $100, and you kind of had this notion, you've heard there needs to be volume, right, Brad? So 1 million shares a day.
Throw 1 million in there.
Is that a million? Oh, I got to do it like the
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
There we go. So here it is, between 10 and 100, average volume of 1 million shares, We already know it's making a high. Let's have it trade 2 times normal and have it be up at least 0.5%.
That's going to look good, you know.
Let's also make sure positive earnings per share of some kind. You know, make money, all the good stuff. Quarterly revenue growth, 10%. How about that? Brad, does that sound good?
Sure.
All right. Test. So here I'm going to go to backtest, and I'm going to actually show you guys again how we allow you to quickly figure out what's working. So here I'm going to give myself 20 minutes after the open. I'm also not going to initiate anything the last hour, just again because I want to be conservative. Or maybe I just don't have...
That's 2 hours.
Right?
That's 2 hours.
2 hours? Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say here is you can have an open where you're trading the whole day. Excuse me. But you also have the freedom to be testing your own time. Like, again, what if you have surgery because you're a surgeon, or, you know, or you want to skip the first half hour because you know of the volatility. So I'm just kind of showing you that you have that freedom. So
yeah, it's also you know, the feedback that you get from the odds maker really tells you, you know, when is a good time to implement that strategy. Right. So yeah,
so right. So this is our initiation. So we're starting half hour after the open. We're not entering anything the next. In the final 2 hours, and I'm still testing the hypothesis. I can test something for, you know, 1 minute, but that's silly, so let's test it for 60. And then again, I'm going to show you how quickly we come up with our answers of what to do and what not to do. So here, we're going to simulate buy, and we're going to test this beautiful pattern. So we're testing, and it's only happened, this kind of move with the revenues and the volume and everything has only happened 57 times over the last month, I believe, that we tested.
Yeah, 30 trading days.
Right. And each time it would be, it lost instead. So right away you know that for the most part, it would probably be better to fade. So this is like one of the interesting, silly, but not really silly things that we quickly show people what happens when you have data. Of course, this is kind of telling you that the path of least resistance has been down, but my goodness, isn't that important to know? You know, why are we all trying to figure out when to buy Twitter or Apple or whatever when you can see that the path of least resistance in this case is down. So this is what the odds maker was able to tell us. I should not be long this beautiful chart pattern. I should be short. So this brings us back to our AI engine Holly. So in order for us to really come up with something that is going to completely change the game, we decided that to do it, what we had to do is automate everything that we allowed our people to be able to do themselves, have our servers do it. So what we did was we split the market into 3 sections. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I'm going to do it from the point of view of one of the trades that we were in. We'll call this GD. By the way, one of the most insane moves that the AI caught today. A potential of 8 points, 10 points, Brad, was it?
Yeah, I mean, potential of huge, right?
So
yeah.
it was the biggest winner was 1.75, so it entered at 124.07 and exited 125.82 because again the target was hit, and boom, this thing exploded. So that's part of one of the ways that I wanted to really say, what are we here to do? We're trying to uncover the odds that, you know, do this. That's what the game is about. But the question
the beautiful part is that, you know, it had made the call to be long that stock, you know, before that, and it saw footprints, you know, footprints that aren't always visible to the human eye.
Well, yeah, the footprints are completely invisible, I think, Brad, and that's the thing. So what do we do at Trade Ideas that's completely different from everybody else? That's what I want to tell you. So here's what we did. We said every stock, so let's look at, so I'm going to expand this out today, right? So every stock has a high, a low, and a middle. This is the daily graph of any stock. So every single one has a high, middle, low. So what we did with our engineering and our science team is we split up every single investment idea, like what you see here, like selling into strength, right? Selling into strength is an approach that takes account highs, or when the stock is on highs, and plays the downside of it. Resistance is that is another way to approach, again, investing. And what you do is you decide that you can basically, this is the beauty and simplicity of science, people. So for any given stock, you can really only do, you have, like I said, the three sections, the top, middle, and bottom, and you can only do two things in those sections. So you can either go long at the top, short at the top, long in the middle, short at the middle, and long at the bottom and short at the bottom. So sometimes, again, you're going to be buying things that are on lows. Sometimes you're going to be buying things that are on highs. Sam, the blue arrows, and again, we'll explain all this, that's the entry signal for a stock. Okay, so that's when the AI decided that there was an entry. So again, and I'll get to all of that. So the key here is the AI not only does all of the processing, but again, we took it a different approach. We said you can't have one strategy that's the strategy that you do. In order to really succeed and become a successful active investor, we split up the market, like we said, into what we call a quantitative combine, where there's 45 strategies that live within the AI, and they all compete to play. So in order to play, you have to be, see this win percentage? This is the historical Monte Carlo out of sample, rigorous statistical analysis percentages that allowed these strategies to appear. So again, there's 45 players. These are the players right here. And you can only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think the maximum you can ever have is 12, Brad. Is that what we said, or is it 10? Brad, do you know?
Yeah, the maximum number is 12, and these are the 9 that made the cut last night based on the statistics.
Right. So imagine it's like this. There's a there's a season, but it only lasts one day. This is how competitive our software is. So tonight, again, all of these 45 concepts, and we give them names like "You Got What I Need," you know. But if you see it, that "You Got What I Need" is a buying the upper end strategy, whereas Power Hour Long might be buying a bottom type of strategy.
Let me I talk real briefly just about the mob strategy, because that's a new strategy that we just added to the software to compete, and we added it a few days ago, and it just made it today. And this is a strategy, without giving all the specific details of it, because there are a lot of filters that are in it, but the high level is it's looking for a lot of social volume, unusual social volume, and coupling that with the other filters in the strategy, it's leaving a footprint for a long position, whether it's being talked about a lot in social media. So that's a new one that just made the combine and has recently been added to the list of available strategies.
So Brad, let's still talk about this a little bit. So remember, people ask us, well, how do I use this? There seems like there might be too many ideas coming through. How can I possibly get into all of them? And what I want to say is that, number one, although great question, Holly and our AI was not designed to be a black box that you have to get into everything. Each strategy has its own statistical percentages, and that's why you're getting into them. And again, just because they exist, that does not mean that it will happen exactly the same way. But what I want to talk about is also the fact that there's, you know, Brad, we use this example. how do you become, practice, 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 right? How do you become good at something? Well, you can do it yourself. And like, for example, Brad and I was very fortunate because I got into investing at maybe the most perfect time, and I learned in an environment where you could do it. And then Brad, like, you started only 3 years after I did in '98. So we were there at the right time, at the right place, and we put in what we call the bloody noses. But evolution happens in such a way that that's no longer conducive. Like, you can't spend $100,000 figuring out what to do, and we say to investors that it shouldn't be like that. We want to introduce you to opportunities where you can profit in a way that you never thought you could before. So first of all, our AI, all throughout the day, you can track its profit. And you can see that it started off in position. So first of all, again, there's some very interesting stuff. Brad, I wanted to really touch upon this on the last Q&A, but this was so important, is that think about this. Not only is it both long and short competing for, what's going to be in there, but just because something made it does not mean that you're actually going to have trades in it. Like float on. There were no trades.
Well, and because there's a lot of smarts built into each of the strategies as well.
That's what I'm trying to say too, is that, again, all the things that you would want to have done for yourself is already done. So you're not, even though this strategy made it, nothing came through it that warranted an entry, is what I'm trying to say. So there's so many risk aversion things that are built in. So again, how do people use this? How do you make money with the AI? Well, number one, you understand that the AI has odds built around it. That does not guarantee anything, but it does have odds. So like when it starts, and as it starts to get into positions, you're going to see those positions appear. And let's look at that. So I'm going to change these windows, Brad, so that people can kind of see how did this day unfold? Okay, so Jamie was talking about we have this new strategy, the MOB long, that made it. And the first thing that it got in, okay, was right here. It was one of the statistical moves, and look at what it's doing. I mean, Brad, something that I always talk about is the importance of the bigger picture, right? So when Holly, our AI, is trying to get you into something, she's not trying to get you in for 10 trade scalp, okay? That is like insanity. What we're trying to do is look at this chart on Norfolk Southern. I mean, we're trying to find that move that if this trend changes, like look at what happened like between here and here. I mean, you're talking about 6 points. Right, so that's what we're shooting for.
At the same time as managing risk, right? I mean,
right. So there's two sides to it. Again, so the odds for this trade came through, okay, but our entry price was here, and it didn't work out. For whatever reason, we took a $1.13 stop. So every single thing that you see on the AI, and this is the beauty of it, it not only has an entry for you, but it has a custom stop price for you, which is based on each individual stock's unique volatility and trading for today. So the other thing that, again, all of these things are done for you. So you don't have to think about it. You have to be more intuitive, learning and applying your capital. So the first trade was a long, didn't work out. Next trade, long, TUP. Look at this one. Okay, another really good example of what the software is trying to do, right? Now, TUP was tricky because this stock got obliterated. There was a huge gap down. But remember, we were talking about the potential energy, right? That's the thing, that this is where that potential is hidden. When something's down 8 points, you could easily run 3 or 4 in the other direction, and that's what the AI thought was going to happen. So it entered at 43.91 and exited at 42.65. Again, the stop was hit, and then and the key that I'm saying here is that you have to appreciate that it just does what the rules say. So got in, took the loss, got in, took the loss, and this is what it looked like, okay? And that's why you're seeing that 233. So here we were in these trades, and they just didn't work out for us. So the first thing that happened is it was telling you, hey, some longs are not working. So I'm in two of my longs, and they really started not to work, or rather, again, you're seeing that it's not working, and then this comes through, HES. My goodness gracious is what I'm about to say. So this was the same strategy, MOB long, right? And the entry price was $35.84. This was a 72-cent winner. So look at where this entry was. Okay, I mean, this is, again, and look at what's happening here. So I want you to think about this as, what is our software? What is Trade Ideas trying to do? We're not trying to chase our tails with the Apples and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Amazons and the Fangs and everything that everybody else is talking about, because we know that that's pointless, okay? But look at what we're, again, there's a systematic quantitative approach, and look what happens when it works. So here again, the software, because of the way the market's been, it was taking profits quickly, and that's something that, again, we've been doing because the market's been very volatile. But look what happened after the profit was taken. I mean, this thing ran from our entry, 35, all the way up to 39.64. And I was actually in this one, and I didn't get the full move, but I got out like at around, I think, just a point off highs. It was incredible. So that was the next thing, and that's what really started to get us back into green. So then notice again, the AI, it's doing both things at once. This is something that again, is difficult for people to do, but the AI does it, because sometimes, again, you have to play the odds. So here it went short the entry price at 30.53 and covered quickly at 30.87 because the stop was hit. And look at NOV, continued to go higher, much higher. And so this is where you learn that there's two parts of it, right? There's not just about being right or statistically right, but it's also about just, once you have the rule in place, you do it, okay? So here, again, gets out of NOV perfectly. Oxy, short, did not work out. Again, the market had a very big run before the FOMC. So here, you had a 62-cent loser. But you have to do it. You have to, again, you have to use the rules, and all the stops are in there. But right after that, another one of the big longs that ended up being terrible at the end, but look at this play and how it worked out during the day. And in fact, again, this was another one that I was in on my E-Trade, and I shared with people in the room, where Brad, I mean, this was just a beautiful trade. And though the AI got 94 cents out of it, it actually ended up, there was a lot more potential. So again, and then it's also communicating to you what's working. So the longs were working and the shorts were not. So we keep going, and here's where, again, so notice like right around here, you know, we had another big one, two stocks that didn't work out. You have to take the losses. But then look at this run that we caught, and this is, remember, an hour into it, right? So this is here where we're really going to start running. I mean, this is the kind of move, and let me go back to GD. Okay, so you can see by the time frame of when, of why it's so important to trade with the AI versus yourself, because since so many odds are already in your favor, you have to wait, and then you catch this kind of move. And the reason I'm bringing up this is, again, look at this. I mean, this was your entry. I don't know how else, Brad, I could possibly communicate the value of a technology that is looking for this and finds this kind of thing, again, it's something that when I think about, wow, what would it have been like if we had this, and the opportunities that it gives people now, so that, don't think of yourself as just an investor where you get in and hope. Think of yourself as the ultimate venture capitalist, right? Where you're helping General Dynamics, for whatever reason, take advantage of whatever news that's happening. And that's the thing too. So, Sam, we talk about this. The AI is trading away. And we talk about how just as a surgeon learns to become a surgeon by watching other good surgeons, this is the same thing. You watch it, you see what the trades are doing, and whichever trades you get into. And again, I was in this one, and I got out early. I only got it to like just maybe, again, a point above. I didn't catch that. But easily, you could have been, if you were in 200 shares, you could have taken half off the table and see what would have happened with the other half. That's the beauty, is that you can trade around these positions, and if the AI is wrong, you can also trade around it. But you have all the odds in your favor. That's the big difference. When you and I, when we look at this, I'm going to another channel. So this is our search channel. So when I go like this and I look at a stock and have, I'm already, a lot of these windows are already designed to show you interesting things. So this is definitely possibly an interesting move right here, especially off of the lows, right? This is what we look for. You remember we talked about the potential energy? Look at that. That is the kind of move that we are trying to find and having our AI find for you. But just because I see this right now, right, I don't know really how all the statistical footprints that happened on this day and how it related to this, and that, and this, and this, and this. And that's what our AI is doing right now. It is studying all of these moves, right? Look at this move right here. Have you ever seen a more beautifully shaped potential energy kind of combustive environment? There's probably never, ever a better time to be in the market than right now, because there was so much volatility, and there are stocks that are getting kind of killed on price, which again, even as Warren Buffett says, I mean, that's when you want to be buying. But there's no better way for you to manage and explore the opportunities than with our artificial intelligence. Nothing else. There's no service on the planet where you can watch a technology, not a person, but a technology that's doing everything in real time for you. I mean, as soon as a trade happens, you see it. You can follow it. You can look at the distance from profit. You know how many minutes until the entry, until the exit. You can see the environment. Are you trading in the direction of the overall market? So, I mean, again, we feel like we have completely done the thing that nobody thought was possible. People don't think that it's possible to do better than the quote-unquote market. Well, we believe very firmly from evidence that we see here that we have AI that finds supply and demand price discrepancies and lets us take advantage of it in a much better way than's ever existed before, ever. And this is going to completely change the way everybody invests in stocks. Brad, why don't we go to the questions? Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you think I need to add?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you did a fine job covering it. This is still a tool that we are continuing to work on and make better. We've been doing this for about 14 years now, and we haven't stopped really with the technological pursuit. One of the things that happened today with the Fed announcement, we have to teach rules to Holly, and she's only learning when we're giving her this information, and perhaps we don't want to be as heavily loaded going into such an announcement. And these are types of instructions that we can continue to teach her and have it perform better at the end.
Well, I was going to say, Brad, one thing that we were right before literally the FOMC. We were right here. We were on highs, and it was only after the FOMC, which we should have just as you said, we're going to make the AI better when there are, all you have to do is bake in the calendar, and FOMC announcement is just profit taking in all directions. You know, whatever it is, take your profits. So Brad, let's answer a couple of questions. So Troy Davis said, how should one go about learning TI4 with the AI? Troy, probably the best way to do it, if you have the AI, number one, is the whole thing about our valet on-ramping. You're going to get the training. You're going to get the training session with Jamie, and we're going to make sure during that session that you get the full setup.
Yeah, so it's a good setup. What we do, it's a remote control session, and we spend an hour. We connect to your desktop, we set you up, we make sure that you're very well aware of the data points of what you're looking at, and if there's something that you want to configure, we help you do that. So we really take the time to make sure that you're very well aware of how to use the tool. And then, as Dan was going to show you on the channel bar down below, we've got our live trading room with Barry Anderson, and he's fantastic. We've got a group of really savvy traders in this room that are sharing ideas, using trade ideas technology along the way, and it's a good forum for people to share ideas and get some great trading ideas.
Well, Brad, I think the other part is that it's kind of like also the pack safety. So when, you know, people come in and they sign up to trade ideas in the AI, you know that you're not alone because there's a whole community of people who also have the same information and are reacting to it and doing things with it. Wow, look at Facebook Go after market. You're never alone.
So you're over the compare count window right there, and it's kind of an often overlooked window. It's one of our visual windows where we've got two competing strategies in there, and we're really looking at them go against each other. This is looking for post-market highs and post-market lows, and you could really see that thing light up, and then down at the bottom are the symbols that are making those. So it's giving you a lot of good information, and this is also a great tool during the day, you know, as the market's going on, and you can clear it out, start it fresh. It's nice because it's not telling you whether the market's up or down. It's giving you the breadth. It's telling you who are people buying or are people selling right now.
And Facebook really looks like it's taken off here after earnings, and I bet that's going to be really good for the rest of the market tomorrow. But again, the idea that we really want to say is that we firmly believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we at Trade Ideas here, are the ones that have initiated the technological leap forward. Everything that you would need to be using before us, you know, like the TradeStation stuff or the scripting and the indicators. I mean, they're okay ancillary tools, but none of them are giving you the odds of what's happening the way we are, and that's why we think, again, this is just like email was to snail mail, this is what is coming to investing. You know, this is beyond Interactive Business Daily or Wall Street Journal. It's the next way to invest. So let's see, Harry Johns was asking if this can run behind the firewall. Brad, let me see.
Yeah, why don't you go up to the tools option up at the toolbar and go to options and go to the connection section. And this gives you a couple, that drop down up at the top, the one up at the top right there, gives you a couple different connection options. For the most part, it should be able to get through your firewall. If in fact it can't, then we always have a web version that's available. It's a real dynamic, robust Google Web Toolkit web version that has free-floating windows inside of it as well.
So Brad, Jamie Chaffin had a great question. Do we support excuse me, do we support automated trading?
Okay, well, I didn't see automated there, but can you trade from this platform? And with that, we have created an integration with a brokerage partner for automated trading. That's with Lightspeed Brokerage. So essentially, you can take any strategy you create inside of Trade Ideas, drop it into this interface right here, and then just like in the odds maker where you input the certain set of rules when you can initiate it, a trade, how long you're going to hold it, you do the very same thing here. You turn it on and let it run for you. It manages your stops, both stop losses as well as profit targets, as well as the timed exits.
Well, notice here, this is a really nice example of how the AI and the brokerage plus are not that dissimilar. And here you can see how flatten, half, double, reverse, limit out, everything is optimized to be the most efficient.
So with respect to not automating the signals, we do third-party linking. We have our own connector inside of Trade Ideas that allows it to link with most brokerage and analytical platforms out there. So you can click on a symbol, click on an idea inside of one of the Trade Ideas windows, and it'll update the charts and the other analytical windows and the other platforms. So that's available as well. And what a lot of people do is they link it to their level 2 and chart, click on it, the chart level 2 will update, and you can just go ahead and make a trade with the order entry panel that's connected to the level 2. So a lot of different ways people use it, and we also do have a variety of integrations inside of some brokerage partners like Scottrade and E-Trade. And then just one last thing with respect to a question that Harry asked pertaining to the web version. About 90% of the functionality is in the web version at this time. We're just, as soon as we move this tool out of beta, as soon as we move the artificial intelligence out of beta and into our production version, we'll get work on the adding that to the web version. So that component is not available along with the charts. Those are the two features that are not available at this time.
Yeah, I was just kind of, doing a little bit of channel surfing, showing that you can really, in terms of exploring, you can do any kind of searching. But the big thing is using the AI because it's the only living statistical feed that allows you to see what's happening in real time. And also, I'm sure Scott's going to mention this, Brad, but we are doing away with a big promo that we're going to talk about here. So, all right, everyone, I want to thank you for your questions. Scott, I'm going to give the floor to you for the final part, and let people know that, again, this is not going to be around the long.
Oh, absolutely. Right, so something I always like to do to thank everyone for coming, it's something we've done since we started doing webinars, is offer a way to save on our products. Here's a really easy way for anyone to get started and save half off the first month, 20% off your first year, or 30% off the AI. And that's to use that code you see at the top, Holly27. The Holly is all in the capitals. Use that promo code on checkout, and you can get the first month for just $49 or a year for $710, or get that lifetime oddsmaker AI license for just $770. That code, you do need to use it before the end of business this Friday. Now for the actually kind of exciting part, because we're really happy to finally get version 4 out of beta and into production. So we now have a date from our production department about when we will be moving from version 4 from beta into production, and that's actually going to be on Super Bowl Sunday, and we're going to extend this offer for 1 week past when we leave beta. So it ends on February 16th at the end of business. That's your last day to get Trade Ideas a full year and the lifetime AI for just $12.88. That saves you $700 immediately. I want to direct your attention to the handout available in your handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface. If you download that PDF, all these links and the information is right there in it. Or you can just go to your browser window right now and type in that link you see. It's just bit.ly/AI Holly, and the AI Holly needs to be in capitals, and that takes you directly to a landing page where you can purchase this package. It's the only place to get it, and it's only available until the 16th. You save $700 immediately, and you're locked in at the $888 annual rate for the next time we raise our annual, and you get the AI for life as long as you have an active Trade Ideas subscription. It's simply the best offer we can provide. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming. Oh, Joe, the yearly subscription is Trade Ideas Pro. The AI license gets you the higher functionality of the oddsmaker backtesting tool and the AI. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, email us, info@trade-ideas.com. Or you can follow Dan on Twitter. He's Trade Ideas 1. Follow us on Twitter on our other account, @Trade Ideas. Lots of good Trade Ideas posted there. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro. Go on there and like us. We do post some things to Facebook we don't post anywhere else. Same with Twitter. Again, any questions, email info@TradeIdeas or Dan@TradeIdeas, Brad@TradeIdeas, Scott@TradeIdeas, Steve@TradeIdeas. We're pretty easy to find. Or give us a call during normal business hours on the West Coast. Again, thanks, guys. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Dan, for the great Frizo. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Barry.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, very much appreciated, everyone. Again, this is the biggest leap forward, so we really hope you take advantage. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Cheers.